A relentless onslaught. That is how the Director of Community and Marketing over at Insomniac Games, James Stevenson, describes the, well, gaming sphere in general's reaction to their newest video game, Marvel's Wolverine. And why is this? How could it be? Why is everybody being so stridently negative about Wolverine? And to be fair, they are being rather aggressively negative in both reasonable and unreasonable ways, which we'll have a look at in a second. Is this simply just a random outburst of hatred for no reason? Oh no, it is not. This is in fact the long-term compounding consequences of your actions. See, Insomniac Games have had quite a long history at this point, rife with controversy, both direct and indirect. And the days where, once upon a time, the truism of there is no such thing as negative PR held true, which was indeed correct back in the 80s and the 90s, we don't live in that age anymore. In fact, it's a lot worse. These days, negative PR isn't merely a flash-in-the-pan event, a once and done that you can move past. It is something that will haunt you for decades to come, specifically because of the wider actions of the gaming media sphere and entertainment in general. See, once upon a time, we gamers were the most forgiving of audiences, to the point of self-annihilatory ridicule. If you look back at the early 2000s or 90s, the shit we swallowed was absurd. We kind of just let it happen. Virtually all of the predatory monetization practices of today stem from back then, with virtually no pushback whatsoever. And when there was pushback, it was done once and then forgotten about, after which the company would simply reintroduce the cancerous policies in the next update and push it through. Gamers have been the abused pet for a very long time, and like good faithful dogs, we took the kicking until we finally snapped. We're in the snapping period now, and it's going to take a very, very long time and a tremendous amount of conscious effort on behalf of entertainment in general to make us docile again. Which is why Insomniac Games, which has been at the heart of many controversies, for example, the anti-pride flag mod, which was removed from Nexus mods. Now, again, this was not Insomniac Games directly. It was but one of the many things surrounding them that gives everyone a kind of a negative taste in the mouth around them. And of course, obviously, Nexus mod also allows, and still allows, the progressive pride flags. So they never had any problems with people modding the flags. This was a purely political stance on their behalf. If Insomniac Games had come out and disavowed it, it would have helped, but they did not, because they themselves are, of course, also very, very progressive. So, let's talk about this a little bit more broadly, shall we? Marvel's Wolverine has become one of the most hated and controversial games even before its release. But how can we judge it without even playing the full game? What are the main reasons behind this huge backlash? Allow me to explain. So, firstly, obviously we can judge something before it's released. In fact, it's rather simple. We've got decades of experience doing just that, and we've built up a pretty good system of pattern recognition. We can see something that looks ass in the trailer and make the educated guess that it's probably gonna be ass in the video game as well, like the rather uninspired boss fight, for example, or the weird red trail that follows the guy you're supposed to be tracking. We'll touch upon that in a second as well. And the various gameplay that they've released hasn't really helped their cause, especially this. So that, in the back there, that's Nature Girl. I think that might be Squirrel Girl. She sure is ugly enough to be the modern-day Squirrel Girl, but Nature Girl is another character you may remember, as she went batshit insane and started straight up murdering civilians for littering. Literally for littering. And now she's in a Marvel game. Fantastic. Absolutely ideal. And then, of course, there's been the various leaks preceding this, which all look like trash as well, which helps build up a negative perception of the game from a gameplay standpoint, and then the actions of PlayStations, who decided to remove physical discs entirely just, couple last weeks or so? Also, not exactly a good PR point. So, again, all of these negative events surrounding Insomniac games, and partially from them as well, like, for example, Mary Jane from the Spider-Man games. This is supposed to be one of the single hottest women in the Marvel universe, okay? Mary Jane is basically supposed to be Peter Parker's everything, his raison d'etre, on the same level as his uncle and his aunt, okay? That's how important she is, and that is the best they could manage. And this wasn't an accident, of course, this is a conscious design decision, as this is Jean Grey, another incredibly beautiful woman who looks like a frumpy matron. There's even a tiny clip of Psylocke, I think, in one of the trailers, and God, she somehow looks worse than all of them. This is very clearly a 2014's designed game, where the women are made aggressively mediocre to downright ugly for expressly political reasons. We see this, we leap upon it. And then we get to the criticism, right? Like this is a fantastic example, where here you have the boss fight being compared to like a low-budget Ben 10 game, right? Now, sure, the boss fight is not particularly inspired. Big guy, you can see half him, rah dunk, slashed him when he slams his hand down. Everybody's seen it, right? But this is where the concept of charitability and its opposite comes in. And you see countless examples of this, like here. This is the much lambasted clip, or part of it, where you see Wolverine chasing a hand ninja, and you see like a red cloud coming out behind him. Everybody point to that and go, that's fucking ridiculous. Modern day nonsensical hand-holding. A giant red floofy cloud following behind the guy on the 100% linear path so that you don't lose track of him, even as he is 5 feet ahead of you. Now, the charitable interpretation would be, well, you're playing Wolverine. One of his many mutant abilities is super sensors, and so he might be able to smell him and track him via that. Okay, fair argument, if it weren't also for the fact that the ninja is literally right there, on a linear path. If you were actually tracking him, sure, and again, in a charitable world, you might also have stuff like this. This is my best example. Hell, hey, you know that has an unbreakable skeleton that can regenerate from basically any wound? Let's give him a plate carrier. Now, this is actually one of the, unreasonable criticisms, because Wolverine isn't immune to pain, and he isn't invulnerable. His bones can't break, and he regenerates from literally anything, but that doesn't mean he likes pain. He dislikes it as much as anybody else, he's simply just used to it, and so it makes complete sense for him to go, oh, there's a bulletproof vest, I might as well. No, that's absolutely and entirely reasonable. But if you have built up a negative, uncharitable view of your entire gaming company due to your inactions, actions, and the actions of things around you, people aren't going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They're not going to make the charitable point or the charitable interpretation of a situation. They're going to drag you over the coals for anything and everything, even the stuff that seems absolutely pathetic. And there is far worse things to yell at them for, like that, yes, very much so. Wolverine is way too young in this, way too young. He looks not even young, he looks boyish. He looks pretty, which is another wonderful example, by the way. This is women in modern day Insomniac and Marvel video games, whereas this is the grizzled 100-plus-year-old Canadian war veteran whose entire aesthetic is to be halfway between a beast and a man. Yeah. So again, Insomniac is not by any stretch of the imagination innocent here. As I mentioned, this incredibly uncharitable interpretation is all a consequence of their own repeated negative actions, and is, by the way, just to make this clear, 100% justified as well. This is the long-term stick that must be wielded with determination and purpose. Game companies like Insomniac Games, which mind you as well, has had a long history of really, really good video games, even if more recently all they've been belting out is basically Marvel slop over and over again. And even those have been decent games by, general account apparently. They are still a political company. And I remember my old naive self who believed that, well, we don't really care about politics so long as the concept and the product is good. And to a degree, I still believe that, but with companies like Insomniac, it is always better to err on the side of extreme caution. No, wield the stick with determination, beat them, make the most uncharitable assumption conceivable, and then, when the game comes out, if you have turned out to be in the wrong, well, mea culpa. I made a mistake. There you go. It was a surprisingly good video game. And when they eventually begin to make overtures towards their audience, again by, making a mildly attractive female character, for example, we may hold off on the stick for but a second, as the stick here isn't even related to the quality of the game. The reason why Insomniac is getting so much beatings for this isn't even because the leaks looked bad, it isn't even because the gameplay itself looks meh at absolute best, it is because of all the negativity that surrounds them already. Nobody wishes to give them the benefit of the doubt, nor should they. And God, some of those character designs. Yet again, by the way, somehow Sabretooth looks significantly prettier than the main theme. Oh, there we go. I think that Psylocke, the giant pink glowing sword, kind of gives it away. No, that's about as sharp as it gets. And again, even if that turns out to not be Psylocke, which she's so goddamn ugly I could believe it, that's still no reason not to wield the stick. Insomniac games simply need to be showered with the unrelenting waves of negativity until they themselves decide, okay, maybe we should be the change. Maybe we, as the producers of entertainment who can only exist at the mercy of the audience willing to pay for our games, maybe we should be the ones to give them what they want first. Then the stick will cease. In fact, the stick will not only cease, it will be replaced with garlands and plaudits, in fact, and countless instances of praise. You will suddenly see your silly decisions, like, again, this one. Suddenly, people will be defending it, as I did just now, instead of pointing out, oh, this is ridiculous, he can regenerate. Again, long-term compounding consequences of one's actions. That is the reason why the Wolverine game is getting yelled at so very, very loudly. And why it should be getting yelled at so very, very loudly. Hopefully, that is informative to James and his like. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.